Count your days, monkey man.
I, Diggy,
along with Skellington and Kevin, who totally isn't just here for this season, are gonna take you down. Once and for all. Seems you got away again. What a shame. Guess that means another season.
When it first began premiering, The Boys was like a breath of fresh air in the world that at the time was obsessed with superheroes. While not the first thing ever to tackle the concept of evil superheroes, this show is definitely what popularized the concept if you ask me. Based on a really edgy and horrible comic by the same name, the show does a lot more to actually have nuance and pretty good, though at times unsubtle, commentary about politics and the entertainment industry as a whole. However, with the ending of Season 3 and the announcement of spin-offs such as Gen V, I became worried. Especially now after seeing news about the creators' plans for the shows to tie into each other and how long they want the series to last, I'm just starting to feel like my worries are justified. I believe that The Boys is slowly becoming what it once made fun of. The first season of The Boys, premiering all at once in 2019, was at the time something that honestly broke a lot of new ground that people don't really give it credit for. While stuff such as Injustice presented the idea of evil superheroes, The Boys did it in a way that was also just very critical of superheroes and the entertainment industry as a whole, at a time where superhero movies were at their peak in popularity. In 2019 alone, 4 different comic book movies grossed over $1 billion, with one of them briefly becoming the #1 highest-grossing film of all time. While things seem to be looking up for superhero movies, there was some of an ire growing among film fans around the world, and The Boys served as the way those people were able to get their frustration out. However, the first season of The Boys was way more than just a show saying superheroes bad. It was creative, funny, engaging, had good characters, and a good story. Above all else, though, the themes tackled were done in a surprisingly mature way, more than you expect from a show that presents itself this way.
Balkua the Deep. Des. Kirena Umiga Ichibon Fu desu ne. Kirei! Kirei!
The show tackled a lot of themes you wouldn't really expect as well, such as religion, sexual harassment in the workplace, identity, the corporatization of America, and more. Overall, it was a pretty solid season with a lot to look forward to in the future. A year later, Season 2 aired. A few years back, I made a video looking back on stuff released in 2020 where I said I enjoyed Season 2 a lot, though looking back, my opinion has changed quite a bit. A lot of the factors that made Season 1 good are still here, especially the acting. I still think Aya Cash did an amazing job with what she was given. However, it feels like the writing took a huge nosedive compared to Season 1. There's definitely worse out there in terms of quality of writing, but with what we got in the first season, it felt pretty disappointing. About 2 years later, Season 3 aired, which I remember being cautiously optimistic for. The first 3 episodes aired, and they were honestly pretty great. They revitalized my love and interest for the show once again, and each episode that came out after was also great. The obvious highlight being Kirogasm, which in all honesty wasn't as crazy as the showrunners made it seem like it'd be, but it was still good nonetheless. Then the finale aired. This is where my problems with the franchise really began. Before I get into the finale, I just gotta explain real quick what's been happening throughout Season 3 of the show. In short, Season 3's main focus is about the boys looking for a supposed weapon that can kill Homelander, which is revealed to be in the form of Soldier Boy, America's first supe who was previously thought to be dead after an incident during a Nicaraguan revolution. The Russians give him a new ability that allows him to release a blast from his chest that can disable superpowers and kill people. Butcher and Huey also begin taking V24, a substance that can give the user superpowers for 24 hours. Huey gains teleportation and superhuman strength, while Butcher gains laser eyes as well as superhuman strength. The 3 decide to work together to kill Homelander, but not before helping Soldier Boy take down his old team, Payback, who had previously betrayed him during the incident that led to his capture by the Russians. Black Noir was previously part of this team as well before joining the 7. The other members of the Boys and Starlight are displeased with Butcher and Huey working with Soldier Boy, especially since their initial confrontation with him resulted in Kimiko losing her powers. Despite this, the 3 are determined to kill Homelander once and for all. Also, it's revealed that Soldier Boy is Homelander's dad. This is pretty much all the main stuff that happened before the finale, and as you can probably guess, or if you're watching this season as well as it aired, it really did feel like big things were happening. Every episode, it felt like you saw certain characters like Homelander or Butcher's mental states deteriorate, especially with Homelander. Every scene he was in, you just had no idea how it was going to end. I remember one of my friends saying that the season felt like it was going to be a final season the way it was going. I remember wondering what they were going to do with that, especially considering a 4th season had been confirmed at that point. Then the finale aired. The finale begins with Homelander finding Ryan, his son, and bringing him with him back to Vought Tower. Meanwhile, Butcher realizes he's turning Huey into himself, so he knocks him out and leaves him behind at a gas station. Huey calls Annie and reconciles with her and the rest of the boys, as Queen Maeve breaks out of her imprisonment and meets up with them. At the tower, Homelander kills Black Noir for not telling him the truth about Soldier Boy being his father. Butcher and Soldier Boy meet with the boys, Annie and Maeve, but end up trapping all of them except Maeve in a room before leaving with her to kill Homelander. As the three confront him, he reveals that he has Ryan. Soldier Boy attacks Ryan, causing Butcher and Maeve to attack him. The other members of the boys plus Annie also rush in order to help their friends while Homelander and Ryan escape. Soldier Boy begins charging up a blast powerful enough to destroy the entire tower, so Maeve jumps out the window with him, supposedly sacrificing herself in order to stop him. However, we quickly find out that both her and Soldier Boy are still alive. Soldier Boy is now taken away by the government, and Maeve, now powerless, leaves to go into hiding. Annie officially joins the boys. Butcher finds out he only has like a year or so left to live because of the V-24. And in arguably the best scene in the entire episode, Homelander officially introduces Ryan to the world shortly before killing a Starlight supporter for throwing something at Ryan, only to be returned with cheers from his own supporters. The biggest issue I have with this finale is, besides Ryan now being on Homelander's side and Annie now being part of the group, it doesn't really feel like much has changed. Black Noir died, sure, but in the trailer for Season 4 you can see him, unless they're having it be someone pretending to be him for sake of PR or something like that. It just doesn't really feel like anything has changed. This is a sentiment I can tell is felt among a lot of other people. It just kind of feels like the show is slowly heading in a direction where nothing really changes much. The show just kind of becomes a whole shtick of Homelander acting crazy while violent music plays, something quote-unquote shocking happening every season to attract fans, which usually involves penises for some reason, and new interesting characters being introduced only to be killed off or sent away by the end of the season. However, that's not the only thing that has me worried about the future of this series. There's another, more glaring issue that I think people haven't realized yet. Spin-offs. The first spin-off was called Diabolical. As a whole, it's okay enough side content. 8 animated episodes, each one by different people, telling different side stories within the world of the boys. The quality of these episodes vary drastically. The last 2 episodes, John and Sun-hee and 1 + 1 = 2, are genuinely phenomenal. The former especially being a great metaphor for grief and loss written by Andy Samberg of all people, and the latter being an interesting look into Homelander before the events of the show, before he became what he is now, when you see him actually try to be a superhero only be faced with the harsh reality of what it's like. Like I said, while the quality of the episodes varied, as a whole it was decent enough to justify its existence, and it served as a good way to build up hype before Season 3, as the series premiered all at once about 3 months or so before the premiere of Season 3. Earlier this year, however, Gen V premiered. I'm going to clarify now that I did not watch all of Gen V, so I'm just going to speak on the quality of what I did watch instead of the show as a whole. Gen V Episode 1 feels like everything the boys made fun of back in 2019, and it gave me vibes of like a really bad Netflix original movie or show. Licensed music transitioning every scene, bad dialogue, and reference humor that lacks any of the nuance the show had were some of my biggest issues with this episode. I ultimately decided to drop it after this singular episode. There was a joke that was like a really specific reference to WandaVision, and I dislike that show as well. However, the way the joke is presented, it feels like this thing is like a way of like, oh wow, look how bad this show was. We're not like that at all. I feel like it's especially ironic now since superhero content as a whole is losing mainstream relevance, with a majority of MCU and DCU projects receiving mediocre to negative reviews and box office scores. Plus, WandaVision aired like 2 years before this show did. Just recently, a new spin-off titled The Boys Mexico was also announced. I should clarify we don't really know anything about this show yet at the time of writing, but does anyone else feel like they're just becoming the MCU now with all these spin-offs? They said this whole thing also about how like the end of Gen V hands off to The Boys Season 4, and at the end of that season will like once again hand off to Gen V Season 2, and while they did say you don't have to watch Gen V to understand Season 4, it just once again feels like there's what's going on over at Marvel, where, for example, if you want to watch that new Captain Marvel movie, you would have had to watch Captain Marvel, WandaVision, Miss Marvel, and Secret Invasion, all just for one movie. It's just becoming too much. I decided to officially dip out of Marvel after Guardians 3, which granted wasn't that long ago, but after seeing clips and hearing about what's coming out now, I feel like I made the right choice. I don't want to have to do that for the boys, but with how much is coming out now, and with the story itself just not going anywhere, I just don't know how they can recover and return to what they once were. I'm going to try to stick it through for Season 4, but my doubts are very high for this one. I hope I'm wrong.